Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my power ranking series for my number 12 team. We're going to be looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, so lots of fun stuff here the Eagles have done. Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew are kind of still the quarterback options here. They're really kind of letting these two still battle it out. Jalen Hurts is still kind of the uncontested starter, in my opinion, but Minshew is good enough to be of note. Hurts has had quite a decent development track, but you still need to see a lot more before you'd say you're comfortable really running with him as the future of your franchise. However, you've gone behind a really good offensive line. I mean, I like Jordan Mailata a lot. Lane Johnson's still here. I'm riding the line of if he's still a star or not. It's I go back and forth. If he puts up another, even if he puts up half a productive season, I'd probably say he still deserves a star. But I'm gonna err on the side of caution for now. But just know he's pretty close. Seumalo and Dickerson, I really like his interior pieces. I think they fit this scheme well, and I really like how they really just embody the style of play that this team plays. There is some interesting depth to tackle here in Dillard and Driscoll. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles are able to sell Dillard high. I will, be watching that. I also would not be surprised though if they just hold on to him because, good O-line depth is really hard to come by. So if they hold on for the season, just ride it out, I wouldn't be overly surprised. Jason Kels is still here. He's still running it out. Oh, if you guys don't know, their actual last name is pronounced Kels. It's not actually Kelsey. I know we all are used to calling them Kelsey, but I'm gonna try to pronounce them by their actual last name. But Kels is still one of the top centers in the league, bar none. Especially when it comes to pass pro as well. I don't know. I think this might be his last run from kind of what I've felt out. It seems like he's kind of just going to still play with the team, but he doesn't really want to play anywhere else. He's probably gonna, I'm guessing, retire at the end of the season, so he retires with the team. Uh, but at least for the Eagles, they were able to draft a center with the incredible high athletic upside in Cam Jurgens to potentially be the replacement. And I mean incredible. Like I've seen some incredible tape at center, and Jurgens has some almost unbelievable tape. I watched him pick up an edge player after his tackle got beat, moving from the center position. He kick slid from the center position to pick up an edge to keep the pocket. Like that is unheard of athletic ability from a center. So I think getting him here while Kels is still here for him to learn, it is super exciting. I love that for the future. Gives you some good depth right now as well. I'm all in on that for the Eagles. I think they did quite well with this offensive line the last couple years. Interesting stuff here for the backfield and receivers. They've really spent the time and money to invest in it. They have tons of different receiver options. They got Kez Watkins, Zach Pascal, Jan Rager's still here, Greg Ward, John Hightower. I mean, these are all guys that can all be used as an answer to a different situation. I mean, Pascal's an insanely good blocker, good in contest and catch. Watkins and Rager can stretch the field. And you just need Rager to really step up. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded. Ward's very good in the slot. Hightower again can stretch field, play in slot. There's some awesome stuff here for just depth at receivers. They are not lacking. Speaking of receiving, Kenneth Gainwell, who's the backup for Miles Sanders, not only is he a decent runner, but he is an exceptional receiving back, even by NFL standards. And I think that was a great pickup for them. It really allows them to take Miles Sanders, out and rest him and bring out Kenneth Gainwell on third downs and be like, all right, we have someone we can pass to who's almost another receiver coming out of the backfield, which is really nice for them. Sanders is a decent runner. I know I can't really rank him anywhere top, but he's definitely not bottom either. He probably could, if I was to stick him on a couple other teams, he could probably still be a starting, level running back on those teams. So he's decent. There's nothing wrong with that. He after some shifty ability, some decent, reading of the line, reading of gaps and what's opening, what's closing. Tight end wise, I was so close to giving Goddard a star. I am right on the brink with him as well, but I would not be surprised if he earns it this season. He is that new modern age do it all tight end. He blocks well. He's an exceptional receiver at all three levels. He's hard to bring down after the catch. I mean, he does it all. So he's really riding that line. He's almost star for me. And Jack Stoll was a big guy I was on going into his draft. I thought he was super underrated, and when I saw the Eagles picked him up in UDFA, I said that guy's going to make the team. And not only did he make the team, but he's sitting at tight end 2 on their current roster spot. He's another kind of that do it all tight end. You know, he's a good athlete as well. No issues with there at all. Now for the two kind of prize pieces here. You got Smith, who was another one of their first round wide receivers. Thankfully, I think he was absolutely worth the first. And I think he's shown it. I think he's absolutely shown the quality of it. He plays very sharp. I love his release package as well, even for being lighter. I think he does really well to create separation within those first 4 yards. And then you paired him with the complete opposite style of receiver in AJ Brown, who is kind of just a bulldozer at running back. You know, high speed, bullies through guys, pushes for yards, makes a tough catch. He's got some. There's some things about AJ Brown, of course, that you still wish were a little better. You know, you want those routes a little sharper. You need the catching to be a little more consistent. And we often say that kind of about these, bigger bodied guys, but you can't say he's not a top receiver and he's not productive because that's exactly what he is. And I think pairing him with the other weapons they have here gives the Eagles yet another different type of player and yet another type of answer for what the defense is trying to do to them. I do not think the Eagles this season will be lacking in answers on offense. Defensive front seven. Still very good. This has clearly been an investment for this team. They clearly value their front seven very highly, except for linebacker for whatever reason. Linebacker is still iffy. You got TJ Edwards as your typical Mike. I'm not thrilled about that. What I am thrilled about is the guys behind him, though. Kazir White just came off a very good season with the Chargers. I think there could be something very productive with him being here. And getting to Kobe Dean in the third, I think, is definitely good value. Even with the injury, he seems like he's actually doing quite well at some of the practices I've seen. He seems like that injury's not slowing him down, so you might get a steal. He blitzes extremely well for being kind of a smaller guy, which again gives this team more things they can do on that defensive front seven. There's a lot of stuff to really like here for now and for the future. When looking at the linebacker and edge position. When we get to edges, I mean Brandon Graham, he's running it out now. I don't know how long he'll stay here, but he's a play now guy. You got Derek Barnett, kind of same mentality. I really like these guys still staying here after being somewhat productive here. They paid Josh Sweat some good money, as well as Hassan Reddick. I think a lot of these guys are able to come out on multiple downs and different looks. Hassan Reddick, I'm excited to see what they do with him since he's kind of shown he does better when coming as a wide nine kind of maybe shifted line kind of edge, or he's the line shifted that way, so he's coming out very wide. Kind of what he did the best when he was coming out with the Panthers and with the Cardinals, where he didn't have to worry about dropping very much. So I think there's some interesting stuff they can do here. Brandon Graham can take more of that bully kind of mentality on the other side. You can let Barnett and Sweat kind of rotate in. They'll be super productive. Sweat especially has shown that he can be very productive. On the D line, I mean, you got tons of talent here as well. Milton Williams, super athletic and twitchy, three tech kind of player. Can put him on the inside. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if you try him as a big D end as well. You can maybe move him around the line a lot more. Maybe put him as a 4-eye. There's tons of stuff you can do with Milton Williams that is super interesting. He was kind of always going to be a developmental prospect, but he's super intriguing for this team for the future. You got Fletcher Cox. He's back here on the 1 year. He's still a star to me, but he's starting to ride that line as well. I think he'll definitely get at least one more good season out of him. He's just a bully of all mentalities in the run, pass, all of it. He really can push pocket. Hargrave, it's kind of nearing his end as well on this team. He he plays decently in the run, but mostly what you have him for is the pass. He provides most of that upside and pass rush, and that's really what you're hoping Milton learns from is Hargrave on this, because that's kind of what Milton's going to be filling in is that pass rushing three tech, 4-eye, whatever, wherever they like to line him up. Hargrave is kind of the idea of what Milton could become, and hopefully with higher athletics is the goal there. And then you get Jordan Davis. You get one of the most athletic nose tackles I have ever seen. I mean, I've seen Jordan Davis chase down a running back on a stretch to the outside, literally ran from the interior all the way to the outside hash and tracked that guy down and tackled him. Guys at 340 are not supposed to move that way, and somehow Jordan Davis does. I would his biggest issue really is just being out in the field. He cannot be out there overly much. However, with how rotational this Eagles front seven is, that's going to feed right into that. He's going to be fine, I think, because he won't be out there that often. I mean, there's some really good stuff that this Eagles team is allowed to do, and since they've drafted certain players to fit this highly rotational scheme, you're not overly exasperating these players, so they're going to be able to play up to their full potential at all times. I really like what the Eagles have done on this front seven. I'll be curious to see how they reload it going into next year. I definitely think they need a better linebacker to pair with the two guys I said were most interesting. But I think there were some really good steps towards the future here, and they're also definitely ready to make a push now. Defensive backs, some great stuff here. Slay and Bradbury ride that line for me at star corner. Slay, I think, is probably going to earn it. He had some rough games last year, but I think he can absolutely earn it again this season. I think it was just some adjusting period to the new team, and I think Bradbury will go through the same thing. But he definitely fits the scheme very well. Those two are probably going to earn their star rankings this season from me. I would not be surprised. So they're really not the issues. Maddox is actually a very good slot as well. Probably not star quality for me, but again, very good player. I don't think he's going to really be your issue in the secondary. What I expect the issues mostly to come is mostly in the safety room. Now, they have made a grab recently in grabbing Tart. I don't know where they're going to play him quite yet. That's kind of remains to be seen. But currently, their starters are looking to be Epps and Harris. Harris has had some high level play before, playing as kind of the hybrid look, where he's allowed to go up and down. Maybe they get back to that here, and maybe he can get back to form. He played pretty well last season. Not not really bad, but also not like overly good. So I expect probably quality play from him. It's really just the other side of whether it's Tart or Epps, and really what kind of quality play you get out of them. I think losing Rodney McLeod will be noticed. He's definitely, McLeod's on his descent as well, play wise. He's starting to get up there in age, but I think they will notice that he's not in the backfield, and they don't really have in my opinion, a true single high free safety. But maybe they get Wallace out there, who's kind of been buried here, and they let him give it a shot. We'll see, but there's definitely some weakness in the depth and back end of the secondary. But the front end, the corners, the starting corners at least, I think are very high end and could be a star secondary if they do reach their potential. Special teams and coaching. Elliott's a pretty good kicker still. I mean, they gave him a good deal. He's pretty young. Sipos again, kind of he teeters on the average to below average tier of punter. I also don't think the actual special teams themselves are anything special. I think they kind of ride that middle crew from what I was ranking them. Offensive and defensive coordinators, I really don't have much to say. I mean, I saw what they did last year. I can't really overly knock what they did, but I also can't really praise. I don't think they did anything overly creative or interesting. To be fair, it's their first season. They still have to get used to some of the players, and they've been grading players that are more, more versatile and more interesting over time. I mentioned, Reddick and Dean were recent grabs. Maybe we see someone like Gannon really start to utilize those players a lot more in a lot more interesting ways, but I have to see that this season first. Nick Sirianni, he's an interesting coach. I have not bought in fully to Sirianni. If I'm being entirely honest, I think there's meat left on the bone, at least so far, with how I've seen his coaching style and planning actually work. If you had someone like, I mean, Dable got hired this season, or I mean, I don't even know if there's that much difference between Sirianni and Doug Peterson. I mean, I think Sirianni I like more because he's definitely more modern. So he definitely understands the modern scheming probably a little bit well than Doug does. But Doug's also coming off a year where he had a year off to learn and educate himself and not to worry about, bogged down team stuff. So maybe Doug catches up to that. But I don't know. I'm not fully bought into Sirianni. There's stuff I think that it's not quite as bad as some other coaching, but there's stuff I need to see a lot more of, or just see, period, before I am very comfortable with Sirianni being the head coach here for the future. I know he's got the super excited mentality. You know, he always has these weird games he plays with the players when he's interviewing them. There's stuff like that. It's good for the media, but I don't know. I haven't bought in overly much to what he brings as a head coach. So Eagles are in a very interesting position. They're almost in that top 10 ranking for me. They could easily swing up there or swing down depending on a couple things that happens, and I'll talk about that more when we get to especially the number 10 team. I'll get to that. But the Eagles are ready to compete now. This is really, I think, make or break for Jalen Hurts. This is either Jalen Hurts comes out and it is all ready to go. He's figured it out, or basically, Jalen Hurts is like, okay, no, we've kind of seen Jalen Hurts finally find his ceiling, and we have 2 first-round picks and good capital. We can go up and get one of these top quarterbacks going into this year. We're not going to be lacking in that. So either way, the Eagles are definitely they're primed for now, but if things don't work out for them, they're going to be primed for the future as well. They're not going to be lacking in that department. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time. Later.